toe-to-toe. Levi and BJ, you know they're going to go toe-to-toe. And down in that bottom lane as well, Rel versus Leona, I feel like that's a brawl just waiting to happen.
I mean, whenever you see Leona, it's just like, hey, jungler, down here, right here, right here. I can set you up right here. And I think that's exactly what they might need in this engage, as Team Wells looking to do pretty much similar to last one, which is I thought was going to be get a word down, yeah, there it is, and then back it on up.
Yeah, well, Colette going to be shouting for Levi. We'll see if Levi very literally sees the light. Oh, he can't easily sin. He can't see anything. And
he's been spotted himself. It's a disaster. All the information going across the Team Wells because Lee Sin can't take the blindfold off.
It's a nightmare. It's a literal draft-based nightmare for the side of Gab. I am, of course, joking. Look, I'm not the guy to be commenting on good or bad drafts, realistically. I'll leave that to you, Dagda. As already fighting in that bottom side. We're looking towards these junglers, though, pathing in opposite directions as this sort of went a little longer than I expected to in the bottom side, but will diffuse in the end.
Yeah, still though, Artemis and BA being able to push back Paladin Slater and have control of the bush means that, as you can see here, it becomes very difficult for them to actually try and play up and contest the wave state. So Artemis and BA having good control here, even with BJ in the bot side as well, means that if you take these bad trades, you could end up with a dive on bot side, but I think at the moment you don't want to, but maybe it is the level 2 dive. No, I was going to say, you don't have anyone tanky, but I saw how quickly they started to try and push this in and I wasn't certain.
Yeah, you never can be too sure in this kind of matchup as well, because it's not just the fact that it's a repeat of the VCS finals. It's also that, like, individually for these players, this is personal. And for Bia, who didn't get to play in that finals, he wants to show up, especially after game number 1, but he's rooted. Pallet trying to get on top there. Just take a good chunk in return.
Nice interrupt from the Crashen as well on the Zenith play. As Leona went in, just barely clipped him on the back end, means that B doesn't actually get stunned up. So split map at the moment, and going back to what used to be GAM's style, like coming back before they added Slater into the mix, this is kind of how they wanted to play. Levi and Kiaya playing up towards this top side, making sure they're able to get good control. Levi or Kiaya even on the carry as well means that you're going to be in an okay spot to just let him continuously push in, try and find some advantages against Sparta. Although at the moment, Sparta, again on this Cassante, great game in the last one and hasn't really given up anything on that top end either.
And I want to kind of lend credence to the difference we're seeing in this series versus what we've realistically seen in terms of game pace from both of these Vietnamese teams across the course of this tournament so far. Because in VCS, both of these teams, they like to fight, they like to be reasonably aggressive. You know, Team Wales, a bit of a slower pace, but that's in the context of the VCS, you know. It's still a reasonable pace. But across play-ins, they've been playing fairly slow. A lot of that is down to the fact that you never can get a point out. You never can get a point out. A lot of that is down to the fact that, you know, Asia Games really cut into a lot of scrim time for both of these teams. They didn't have their full rosters available to get practice in because of the schedule of Asia Games. So you can see that as the tournament's gone on, both teams have become more and more comfortable as they've been able to get more time on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one for me with Team Wales is that it's kind of the game one curse for them. Although I still say last game was slightly different for them, simply because you end up... Oh, hang on, Levi.
Talking about how amazing lower bracket runs are and how awesome they are. There's a reason why they're amazing, because the actual mental fortitude and physical kind of insurance that you need to go through to do that many games on a highest stage is exhausting.
It's exhausting.
I'm exhausted thinking about it.
Yeah, you end your day, you immediately go into a pick band meeting for the next one. You have to VOD review things that you haven't seen. Yeah, like you said, probably do a round of scrims if anyone's up for it.
Yeah.
You know, it can be exhausting when you have to play day after day after day, and BDS had a great run going, but coming up short this time around. Also, the difficulty of losing early on in the double elim is you wonder about who your opponents would have been on the flip side of the bracket playing GAM, who did look a lot better early today. So not to say that they necessarily would have won or anything, but it is one of those times where you're always playing the what-ifs in your head.
Yeah, literally looking at the what-ifs of the world and how it's all kind of coming together. But what if PSG were to throw it, huh?
What if PSG were to five-man the fountain?
Yeah,
what
I mean, and give Crownie all the kills,
I've seen it before, not on a professional stage.
I've seen it on a professional stage. Oh, no. LPL's got 17 teams of widely varying quality. But it happens, unfortunately, when you start to dilute the pool. But Super Minions now and bot. You got doubles coming in. Crownie going to be the one to deal with that. I mean, it's your last hurrah really here for BDS. You need something, anything, and it has to come from anyone on your team. Honestly, it can happen, but it will just delay the inevitable, feels like, because you're dealing with doubles in every lane.
Doubles in every lane. Infernal Soul finished off as well. They're just going to sit here and wait, see if BDS want to make a play, or they'll just let them end it.
There we go. They're going to look for it. There's the knock-up. They're only right back onto their base. They're going to use the Talia wall, but Adam dies for only the second time. Through the wall, the turret goes down. They do get the Fates call down on top of Aja, but he is just too damn tanky. Sheo goes back onto his fountain to survive, but PSG 2-0, and they're not even breaking a sweat.
They heard the complaints online, the slow game one, and they said, we got you, and immediately deliver a smackdown onto BDS, running over them that game. Final kill count up to 19, couldn't quite get there. 3 and 19, close to nice, not there.
Not quite. Not quite, but I mean, we've said it all. We had so much time at the end of that game to kind of just hype up PSG and really kind of, unfortunately, condemn BDS. I'm sure there's a lot of people online saying we were super negative, but I mean, they need something exceptional to come back into this series.
Yeah,
they really do.
I'm watching these player cams like a hawk, trying to see the emotional state for these two teams. You know, PSG locked in. I'm sure they feel great.
They have a job still to do.
Yeah, they know it's not done. A lot of these guys, I'm sure Maple has, all of them, been there by far the most. But PSG as an organization, extremely successful. They dominate usually domestically. And then the question is, how far can they always get internationally? And MSI was a bit of a disappointment for them. So I'm sure they're not happy just with this right now. They really want to finish this one out.
Yeah, the bounce back has been vicious. So we're going to send it over to Ender, Goldberg, and Raz to break down.
Is he awake this time?
Is he awake? He better be, because BDS are nearly dead. So go for it.
What's this?
I mean, not pulling any punches.
He really isn't. He really isn't.
Look, it's tough over here. That was an absolute calamity from BDS. From the draft and trying to play around this like Kalista lane on the bot side with the mages coming in jungle and mid, to then just getting beaten time and time again. They just got rolled over.
Oh yeah, I just have to get it out of the way immediately, okay? Like,
get what out of the way?
why are we first picking Renekton? If only to play Renekton, you already have to ban the Rumble because you know you're going to lose on it. You have to ban the Kennen because you know you're going to lose on it. You go into the second ban phase, you ban more top laners, and they play Jax anyway, and you still lose on it. What was the idea of this? What was the idea of this entire draft?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
there it is. Well, you got your answer. Yeah, we had this conversation actually a few days ago in the tournament, just like Renekton priority in general. I'm not a fan of Renekton priority. The only time in which I was okay with it was in the case of Robo, because he just had a really limited champion pool and was going towards something like, you know, Malphite into Kennen, and that was just tough. So this one's harsh. I think I expected the Kennen ban. I wanted the Kennen ban. I didn't think that they would go towards this priority. Like, J4 was an option. Like, you could hold picks a little bit more, but it seems like they are just overly worried about Aja, and there's a reason for it.
It looks almost like instead of playing full late game, they're like, let's play full early game.
Yeah.
But then Aja, you mentioned him, took over. And it started from level 1, interrupting Shio's jungle clear, and after that, moving around the map, forcing flashes away from both Shio and Nuke that were converted on later.
Yeah, the game's just become so much easier to play from the get-go, having that jungle tracking going, and then it's just getting in there once again with priority. He's already been back, got a Sheen. Shio can't play against that. That's once again the priority. What does he do with this priority now? He takes a page out of the ARAM book, moves top lane priority into mid lane instead. Now Nuke doesn't have any flash either.
Yeah, it was brutal. And I mean, even just going back into the first clear for the Talia, not only were you pushed off your buff and you're now one camp behind from the Poppy, you didn't actually get an idea where the Poppy even started because both side lanes were starting in lane. So then go into an invade, oh, everything is gone. So at that point, Talia's already pretty far behind. So it's really rough to see that happen. And then, of course, you already mentioned you got the rest out of there.
A mage jungler being down on tempo is not what you want to see. And on top of that, you don't want to see your jungle and mid laner getting punished for not having flash. So in the 5 minutes after getting those flashes, Shio and Nuke both die twice. Here, Shio is like standing over the Dragon Ball trying to steal it away, and Maple with great pathing through the Fog 4 just pounces.
Yeah, it just becomes a bit greedy taking these approaches to it when you don't have that flash. I think this one can be a bit more excusable as it's just in the river, but there's instances where that Drake should really not be contested at whatsoever. Nuke stepping up here, trying to save his jungler when he doesn't have flash either. Shouldn't be contested either. Nuke will step up in mid lane again later, which is right here. Still no flash. He has no business being this far up in the lane.
And timing right now throughout this game has been really unfortunate for PSG's side. There was one time where I think it was the first Rift Herald that was coming up. There was Talia going straight for it, but then, of course, Akali recognized